All right. Hey, everyone. This is OotiniCast episode 374 being recorded on November 5th, 2019. And we're recording this and streaming it out, and it will go out on YouTube later on. And then the edited version will go out as a podcast. The raw version will go out on YouTube. We've got Doc today, of course, and then we also have our Guildmaster back, Dekion. Hey, Dekion, how's it going?
Hey, guys.
And is there anything else we need to do before we actually get the show going? Are you pretty much ready to go? Because it looks like the stream's fine.
Let's do it.
All right, let me do a quick tweet out first, and then I'll be ready to go as well. Okay. 74. There we go. All right. A little quick tweet, and I'll retweet it as well. I always like to do that. Yeah, this is the first full 2 weeks after Onslaught drops. So there's gonna this is gonna be a lot of experiences, what we've been doing. Our week is gonna be very important, obviously, in this one. So, all right. So if you guys are still ready, I'm gonna just go ahead and get the show going, I think.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Duck sauce is in the chat already. All right. Let me get to the right part of the show notes. I was updating a little bit earlier. All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. We're a small outpost and not very self-sufficient. This is episode 374 being recorded on Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
Hey, I got to stop doing Hammer Station and Red Reaper to record this.
Is that well, we'll talk about your week in a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see if that's been your go-to. We do have returning today is our Guildmaster Dekion. If he's not here, but we do have Dekion. How you doing, Dek?
Hey, Chill. Hi, Doc. Thanks for having me again.
Welcome. This is awesome. So yeah, go ahead and tell us what you've been doing in Onslaught and what you think about it and all that good stuff.
Wow. Lots and lots and lots of leveling. I love the story. The devs, BioWare, did an amazing job. Everything about it is just amazing.
Mm-hmm. And what's been like? Are you trying to just level every class to 75, or what kind of leveling are you doing exactly?
The first weekend it was out, it came out on Tuesday. I kind of started doing the story on Wednesday, taking my time exploring every nook and cranny of Onderon and Mekshah.
Nice.
Just really, really kind of pulling it all in. The landscapes, the design of the levels are just amazing. The planets are awesome. And then on Saturday, that was time to get my mains geared again. As you guys know, I was 258 prior to Onslaught dropping, and
nice.
I sort of enjoyed that. When Onslaught came out, we did run the Jar Jar Joyride on that Friday, and it was an interesting run. Many of us were used to having our high-ended gear, and we were no longer,
right.
No longer.
It had, the danger had slid upward. And which it sounds like you. Which one did you do? Which operation did you do?
We just did EV.
Oh wow! Yeah, but it was occasionally kicking some butt on you, huh?
Yes, definitely.
That's awesome. Well, it's actually nice, and I've noticed for sure that just in general, I think it's a little harder. The content is. I don't know if you guys agree, but I'll talk more about it, but I've been just doing for example, the Kopfi Kotet chapters, and it just takes a little bit longer to pretty much kill most everything. So And I don't think it's just the gear. I think that is a factor, but I've done a lot of leveling, and I don't always have you know I don't always have someone like maxed out on levels, during Coffee Kotet, and certainly their gear's not great. So I don't feel it's just the gear. I think it's slightly more difficult also. So
No, I completely agree. I think that the way they balanced the combat system in Onslaught is, they tweaked it a lot from the fourth and fifth expansion, and I think they've gotten it right.
yeah, there's gonna be some challenges coming up. Go ahead, Doc.
I think that they did a lot of really good stuff with the adjustments. I have had 4 operations nights in the 6.0, so 2 on each team, and both of them felt like the content was matching what's reasonable for our gearing progress on those evenings.
Okay. Are you doing which ones are you doing right now? Story mode or harder ones?
Right now we're just doing story mode because there are no augments for most of us.
Sure.
And probably that's where the mind trap came from. So I'll talk about that later. But I was just agreeing with Dekion that it feels like the difficulty adjustments were correct, and I'm sure they're going to continue to tweak, but it feels like a really good 0.0 starting point.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and what else has been going on, Deck, with your leveling?
Well, after the eye opener Eternity Vault run, started on Saturday, and decided to start solo veteran mode Red Reaper since I was on my assassin, and that just started there. I did several veteran modes, and then when some friends were able to raise their tunes, their stealthing tunes up to 75, they joined in. We changed it over to master mode. Fee and I were running master mode.
Nice.
Just us and our level 50 companions over and over and over and over and over. But by the end of the day, we were both 306, and I had actually gained enough tech fragments to purchase the majority of my set gear. So that was cool, and a tactical.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys felt it, but it really feels like after the maintenance 2 days ago, it doesn't feel like tech fragments drop as often. Do you guys feel?
I don't know about dropping, but I've basically never seen a tech fragment drop. I've gotten like one in the 2 weeks. In fact, I got this weird color loot light that I didn't recognize and picked it up. It's like, oh, it actually gave me a tech fragment as a drop, and that's literally the only time it's happened. And it was probably like 4 or 5 days ago, so it would have been this in the second half of the 2 weeks, but I'm not sure what else to tell you about that. Are they dropping a lot more like during flashpoints or operations? Because that's not what I've been doing.
Well, I just noticed that it seems that instead of 3 or so master mode flashpoints, and then I can run and go grab some gear, it's taking a little bit longer to collect the 3,000.
Okay.
And that's happened since the maintenance, so I don't know if they nerfed it or.
Okay. I'm not sure either.
I've had crappy RNG since Tuesday.
maybe that's it.
Well, RNG is the friend of us all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I haven't noticed. I only am aware of the tech fragments I get from completing things. I haven't noticed if it's gone down because I ran more content during week 1 than I did during week 2. So I just attributed the decline in my earning to my decline in playing over the 2 weeks. So
once I was at 306, I started tweaking the gear. Every piece that would drop that was 306, I would pull out and start storing in my legacy bay to start building, my set of armor to get my stats. I want 110% accuracy. I want
Right.
my alacrity up, which I think I'm going to have to wait to get my alacrity where I want it when I can either afford or make some of the high end augments,
Mm-hmm.
the alacrity augments.
Nice.
My crits where I want it. I did go with the Death Knell set piece, and I've been experimenting with some of the tacticals. A few of my favorites are the Blade of the Elements, and that's a really good single target tactical. And then May Cause Injury is my favorite for mobs. It burns mobs.
Oh, okay, great. And what does the
That
Blade of the Elements one do then?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask.
Sorry.
You can find that in the patch notes.
I'll have to look at. I'll have to check that out. Okay.
the may cause injury makes me think of Ravagers and all of the wonderful labels for the droids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It has that vibe to it. I like
Right.
it.
Yes.
Since you have 306 gear, are you going through and updating your amplifiers now? Have you done that?
I have, and we can get into that when we talk about Doc's poll on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
They go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Just you talking about pulling out the 306 mods so that you can get your accuracy. I'm thinking $ just spinning around in my head of, that's easily fixing 3 pieces of gear is 1,000,000 credits.
Right. Well, at almost 100,000 credits per piece of 306 gear to yank out of the armoring or the gear that drops, it can.
Oh, hang on. You cut out there for a second. Could you repeat that, please?
When you think that each piece of gear costs almost 100,000 credits to pull out, it does get. Especially when you finish a flashpoint and you get 3 different, you get a belt, a chest, and pants, and they're all moddable. And pulling that stuff out, that's a lot. That's almost 1,000,000.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, this is all going to be very expensive. That does seem to be a theme, and I'm glad Doc chose that for the mind trap. We will get into that pretty soon. And is there have you been do you favor either of the 2 stories or darker light side, or has there been any interesting twist? Not to get too spoilery, but is there a bit of the story that you particularly appreciated or liked?
I'm thinking. Sorry. I enjoyed both sides. Each had it's exciting, twist of events or the oh my gosh moment, or the pulls at your tugs at your heartstrings. I've run both sides probably 3 times each. I don't really have a favorite. I do enjoy how they really separated the stories, even though you kind of use the same locations on the map.
Right.
This story, more so than probably anything all the way back to Rise of the Hut Cartel, feels like vanilla.
Okay.
It's super awesome to be Empire versus Republic again.
Right.
It's been too long since my main Dekion has been called Master. He's always been the commander. And
right.
It's the little things that you kind of miss.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Outlander and Commander for a long time.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Doc, how about your week out, or at least the 2 weeks since it dropped? What have you been up to?
Well, I think it started out very gear driven, a lot like what Dekion was talking about. He has more tunes through. I only went and did the story once on each side.
Mm-hmm.
And because with ops being the way they are with the 24-hour lockout on story mode, I haven't needed multiple tunes available for any of the ops, because by the next day your lockout's gone.
Right.
But I have those. I have the main set of gear at 306, and it has 3 of the 7 set pieces for what for the set that's my main goal, which is the Gathering Storm. And I have a 2-piece set bonus that just increases alacrity because why not? I don't have those pieces yet, and I randomly got 2 of a different set. So I'm running 2-piece set bonuses. So I don't have the really good one. I'm really excited to get to the point where polarity shift causes a damage increase. I'm really I'm already trying to figure out how to shift when I hit certain buttons to maximize that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun to see that. On the level 75 story mode ops, it feels kind of to me like 13,000 damage per second is kind of analogous to 7,500 damage per second now. So since the character level's higher and the gear and the stats should be higher too, it feels like when you're doing your rotation really well that you'll be higher than that 13. So I'm just kind of looking at 13,000 right now, like it's okay. I don't know. I'm not basing that on any theory crafting numbers. It's just you know, when things are interrupting me or I have to move around a lot, the peaks and the valleys in Star Parse seem to indicate that that's where the new numbers are adjusting at.
Okay.
Also, I have no augments on my character. The first week, because of what gear I was getting, I had 400 points of critical rating and over 2,000 points of alacrity. And I was fast.
Yeah.
I don't know how great that was going overall, but you know, it's just the whole gearing up system is equip the highest number available.
Right.
Not stat number, just gear number.
Yeah.
On Thursday, my team that in 5.0 was working on Nightmare Brontes was able to clear story mode Nature of Progress. And my Sunday team made it through the first 4 bosses of that op. And we just ran out of time. We got 1 pull on the final boss and we saw how it works. But I think the construction of that operation is really cool. It's different enough to where it feels like a great addition to the game.
Okay.
And even on story mode, you kind of have to understand what you're doing for each of the 5 boss encounters, which is really cool. None of them are just tank and spank and then you win.
Right.
So that's neat. There's mechanics for all of them. And then the Datacrons, I went and got all 4 of those. And I just want to give special props to BioWare for the Indiana Jones vibe on the underground Datacron on Onderon.
Okay, cool.
And you cannot summon people to that one because it's instanced. And its use of puzzle work is awesome. And it's really mean at the same time. And it's just a nice 30 minutes of working on something.
Okay, cool.
Have either of you done that one yet?
No, I haven't done the Datacrons at all.
Okay.
I'm all mastered up on the others. I even got the Osis ones, but yeah, no, I haven't touched any of the new ones.
I was really impressed with that particular Datacron. Dekion, have you done it yet?
No, I've found one on Mech Shop, but I haven't done the others.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Well, when you get there, let me know. I would love to be able to talk about it. It's really neat. You find a hole, you climb down, you go through the green door, and then you have to step on the stone tabs, and you have to step on only the correct ones or you fall through, which is very Last Crusade. And then when you get to the other side, there are spike traps on certain stones, and the way they use the lighting, the fire torches, it makes it so you really can't see which ones are spiked and which ones aren't.
Ooh.
And you have to remember where they are. So, because once you get to the end of the hallway, you grab the Datacron, but then a red line starts proceeding towards you pretty swiftly, simulating a boulder rolling after you.
Right.
And it's a red line very similar to the Nahut fight in Gods from the Machine. So it's just a red line that's creeping towards you, and you have to get out, including jumping across the correct stones.
Oh wow.
You have to get out of the green door, because if you step on a spike or the red line touches you, you faint, and you wake up back at the beginning without the Datacron.
With no Datacron. Oh my gosh, that sucks.
And so it's two really great Indiana Jones moments in our Star Wars game. And
that is awesome.
On Mech Shaw, that one actually is the one that took me the longest to get. There's probably an easier way to do it, but the guide that told me what to do said you need to jump off of the taxi platform. There's this colorful rainbow platform that's just pointlessly floating in a 5-minute cycle.
Oh, okay.
You have to jump.
There's one on Corellia that's like that. Yeah.
And land on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets to a certain point, you have to jump off of it and land on a different taxi platform that is not in the area where people play the game.
Wow.
And then you have to do 5 more basic simple jumps after that, and you get the Datacron. So it just really reminded me of that moment in Attack of the Clones when Anakin tells Obi-Wan, like, just 1 second, Master, and then he jumps out of the taxi. And controlled death jumping.
Right.
It was a lot of fun to work on. One of my most memorable moments of the 2 weeks.
Oh man.
So
okay. Well, I look forward to that then.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a personal note, I cleared 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Woot woot! Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So I remember when I was in like the 200 or 300s, and then the first time I got to come on OotiniCast and talk about my plan to do the dissertation, and got like 50 new followers instantly from Ootini guilds, and started to get to know all these people. And that's
awesome.
I never thought I'd make it to 1,000. I know people are sitting at like thousands already, but it's just it's cool. It's not something I actively pursue. It just kind of happens. So Welcome everybody. Thanks for listening to my ideas and all of our SWTOR stuff. And those are my highlights for the 2 weeks chill.
Excellent.
So before we hear from you, who's with us tonight in the chat room?
All right. It doesn't look fully updated here, but I'll read the list that we've got. Twitter's currently showing Captain and GM here, Inset Tarnar, Rube19, Sir Galahard, Starry Saber, SWTOR John, That Duxos is here, VNK, Virgo Praz, and Windsock. But I also see like Zen0001, and I saw Fee is in chat, and Len H666. There's a bunch of other people that it just hasn't updated to. So hello everyone. Lorhan, a few others. So hello everyone. Oh, I'm Marcus. Hey Marcus. So we definitely have a lot of people here tonight. I think it does help, when we do it a little bit later and more people are home and so forth. But anyway, so we've got. What I did was just, lots of sort of gearing and leveling. I didn't really do any hardcore gear grinding. I just did dailies on. I did my main character to 75 using the story, and then did just some dailies on her every day, just to get her some levels, some renown points, and whatever drops and so on. So she's maybe halfway there. She's like 286, 288, somewhere around there. Then I did get my other character, the Mirror class, up to, well, he was almost 75, and I went ahead and did the Empire Side story so that I could actually have a set of gear to just peel, a beginning set of gear to just peel off of that person, because I was curious what it will feel like to just do regular leveling at 75, but actually gear up that way. And it's slow, it's not fast, but I did get my Mirror class, so this would be the assassin. He's now he's almost done with Kotet, actually. I have one more chapter of Kotet, and then I've just got, all the other stuff, the Trader's Trilogy and Osis, and then I've got, the actual new story, all that good stuff. Oh, and Iocath. I haven't done Iocath either, of course. So, let's see, and but because I've been playing a lot on him, he's actually not that far behind, my main. So, like 285 or something like that. So neither are maxed out. I think it's interesting, Deck, to hear about the like just sneaking through Red Reaper, just getting it done that way. That actually sounds pretty interesting. I might have to do something like that if I get sort of frustrated with my progress, because it's not very fast just doing it through like doing dailies, getting a bunch of renown points, and opening boxes, and disintegrating the greens that you get, and all that good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, there's one thing I will say about like gearing through the leveling process, like when I'm doing the chapters and so on, is it's more interesting than it was under the command box method, because when we were doing the command boxes, all the stuff that was dropping was the stuff that said, it was like Outlander gear, and it was like the greens and the blues, and you were always past it. It was always vendor trash. And now it's like, usually it's not, but it can be an upgrade, which is nice because you can actually get gear from just a regular drop, and it feels really good when it happens. And then, even if it doesn't, at least you get a few. You get a few tech points, and at least you're making a little bit of progress every time something drops, which is nice, because getting a few thousand credits or whatever from the Outlander gear was it was useless. It was completely it was a non-event essentially, and now it actually feels slightly good, and it's fun to actually get something that's like, oh, this actually has this has an interesting amplifier on it, even though it's not going to be end game yet. But I forgot this amplifier was in the game, and now I'm doing a little more damage out of at the start of combat or whatever. So there's some really interesting stuff going on there, and it definitely makes the drops a lot more interesting. And just because of that, it's like I actually enjoy it quite a bit more, even though the pace of the gearing up is really, really, really slow. Like, yeah, I definitely would recommend Deck's version, where you find something that's really efficient and you grind the heck out of it and get to 306, because that's not happening this way.
I had a tip of the week that I think you need, Jill, so let's just remember you said that.
Right. Well, we can actually get onto that because we have a few tips of the week. Let's go for it, because actually some of mine are about gearing up and tech points and stuff like that. We do have a tip of the week from Magsol. This one will actually be for the contest. Hi there. Since submitting the tip of the week conventionally wasn't working for me last time, I thought I'd fire it up again this way. Magsol did send it to me via DM to Twitter at OotiniCast, and that works fine. It's not the way that I announce on the show, but it's perfectly valid. The tip is, I was slow to notice this myself, but I found a way around the lack of a quick travel point in the Zyos daily area, and instead what you can do, reuse the activity menu link to transport back to the beginning of the zone. So you can use that. So there you go. Yeah. My method for Zyos dailies is that I just have this like loop that ends up with me being right near the base, and that's how I do it. But that works too. So there you go. Thank you, Magsol. I do have a tip that I wrote in myself. And so if you get an item at level 75 and it has mods and enhancements, and this is when you're doing early gearing. It sounds like the 306, it's too expensive to do this, but when you're getting 268 and 270 gear and stuff like that, if it has mods and enhancements, you can actually pull the mod and the enhancement if it has one for a credit cost, and you can deconstruct them separately to get more tech points. And you also get Jawa junk and all that while you're doing that, just like you would with any other armoring that you get out of a box or whatever. You can't pull the armoring or the barrel or whatever, because if you do that, the shell will not be deconstructible. It's no longer considered deconstructible level 75 gear. So it's not really worth it to do that, but you can pull the mod and enhancement and do it that way. The low level ones are pretty cheap. It's about 5,000 credits to pull a green 268, 270. But you get about 3 tech points. To me, that's worth it. Whether it's up to you, I don't know, but there's a lot of credit sinks in the game now, so maybe it won't be worth it to you. But I've been doing it, and it has added quite a bit of tech points to the amount I've been getting. The shells, if you pull out the armoring and try to vendor the shell, it's less than 5,000, so it's not really worth it to do it that way. So I've been leaving in the armorings and doing that way. Another sort of general tip. It feels like you're getting a lot of Jawa junk because I'm getting it from deconstructing all these items, and also from failed level 11 crew skills, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of nice to not get nothing. But
it is junk still.
Yeah, but the Jawa junk and the other versions, the green, blue, and purple. The purple's Jawa junk, so I always just call it that. The vendor is still, they're still there, and they've added the level 11 items, but it's 200, 200 green or 200 blue or 200 purple for the crew skill stuff from the vendor. So that's really expensive. They did up the prices for like some of the lower levels, but it's not even in the same ballpark. It'll still be like 8 or 10 or something like that feels a lot more like normal. It's really expensive to get the level 11 crew skill stuff from the vendor, although you can. And those funky like delicacies and maintenance gifts are available as well. So you're going to get a lot of the Jawa junk in the game, but yeah, it's a really expensive way to get the level 11 crew skill stuff, unfortunately. So it doesn't. It's nice to get something back from a failed mission instead of just nothing, just having it be a straight up failure. But yeah, it's not a great way to get the stuff from the vendors. So there you go. And Dek,
so BioWare was discussing this probably and said we need to make everything more expensive, and then they're like, well, how do you want to do that? Just add 0. How many? Yes.
That sounds about right.
They could have just jumped to 20 green, 20 blue, and 20 purple, but they added another 0.
Right. Yeah, it's really expensive. Although one thing I've noticed from the not the Jawa vendor, but from the crew skills vendor, is that the level 11 white stuff that you need is 300 credits, and that's actually less. It's actually gone down. So. But
don't tell them that. They're going to listen and change it.
Yeah, but that's not an accident, because there's also, like, if you do the missions to get the white stuff, you'll also get green and blue versions of those. So there are harder versions to get of those items too. So the fact that you can get white stuff from the vendor for relatively less is nice, but it's not the super help that it would have been at earlier levels, because there's now green and even blue versions of all these, like. It's like the equivalent of the syringes and all these things that you'd be buying at the lower levels. I forget what they call the new one, but yeah, if you do the mission for it, you'll get the white stuff that's now 300. That's not too bad, and it's not very expensive to buy. So, but then you'll be getting these blue and green versions, and it's like, ooh, this is gonna get tough. And Dek, you have a tip? Did you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
I can take it.
Go for it.
So my tip involves those data cubes that everyone sees during when they're in their collections window under the toys tab. They're usually on the front page. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't really know what they are, because they only used to drop from cartel packs back in the Rise of the Cartel and the Shadow of Revan days. There are 8 of them, and what they are is they are a little mission. And I say little because literally you run to Nar Shaddaa and you click on a panel on the wall, and it tells a story. Just for the 2 or 3 minutes that conversation lasts, you either will receive a major Valor boost or a major XP boost. And you can run these missions once per character. Like I said, there's 8 of them, so that's up to 8 major XP boosts per character. So my tip is, if you happen to have those or can find them on the GTN for relatively cheap, open those in collections. They're like 60 cartel coins to open for your account.
Nice.
and that's for 3 hours of XP.
Right.
So what I've been doing is I've been making sure that before I start the Onslaught story, I've pulled one down from collections and put that XP boost in my inventory, simply because it's way cheaper than purchasing them outright from the cartel.
Okay. And are the boosts set to the particular data cubes? Like this particular data cube will give a Valor boost, this one will give a major XP boost, or is it random? Do you know?
You have a choice.
Oh, you actually have a choice. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
each
That's
of
even
them
better.
drop either or.
Right.
So you can
Just-
pick if you want Valor
yeah.
for PvP or if you just
Yeah.
want XP for leveling.
Right. If you're I mean, there are people who do level through PvP, so that might be that's completely valid for that. But I don't see why major XP boost wouldn't be the right choice for like 90 to 98% of the time for people. I would say.
Right.
I mean,
I didn't even know that existed.
yeah. That's cool. All right, excellent. Thank you very much. And Doc, you decided to write in a tip too.
Yeah, so this is something that's been affecting people, just that I've come across either in flashpoints, and they'll complain like, I've been stuck at 274 for 5 hours. This is
Right.
my third flashpoint. What's going on? Because if you don't watch the podcasts or listen to them or follow the dev posts, you don't know what the heck happened to this game 2 weeks ago. That's kind of the thing that I'm finding out. So
Right.
I've told over 10 different in-game strangers this, so I figure I'd share it on the podcast. If you're stuck at a certain gear level, meaning that a lot of your pieces are higher than this number, but for some reason your gear drops seem terrible,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably because there's an earpiece or your second relic or your offhand that is just not the right gear level for
Right.
you to clear that gear wall. So there are actually thresholds built into the gearing system. I suspect that the thresholds are when you transition between the different colors of gear. So
That seems about
there's
right.
a wall
Yeah.
when you go from green gear to blue gear, blue to purple, purples to gold. And you will not start getting that new color until you are fully at the highest number of the previous color. And so what you need to do is go and spend tech fragments on the fleet to get gear that sets you at that highest level
Right.
and gets all of your gear,
Or to
all
the next
14
color up. Yeah.
Yep, all 14 pieces are ready to go to the next color. Because you might have 15 pieces that are ready for purple,
Mm-hmm.
but that one blue that's 5 gear levels lower on blue,
It's gonna
you're
hold you
not going to
back.
get that. I mean, you're relying on RNG to get that one piece. So if it's an earpiece and you don't
Right.
get a good earpiece, then all your other gear is going to be lower drops. So pay attention to that. And
Thank you. Yeah. I've been wondering about that myself, and I did try getting it, and it did seem to help, but I wasn't sure that was exactly what was going on, so it's good to know. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. That is
Yeah,
a terrific tip.
your initial goal is actually not to have good stats with
Mhm.
your tech fragments. Your initial goal, the way I did it, and you don't have to do it my way, but my first goal was get the tactical you want. And then after I did that, the next goal was get to 306.
Right.
And now my goal is get the set pieces. And then it will be optimize the mods and enhancements.
Right.
You can do all of those goals in different orders, and depending on what you enjoy playing, you may not have to do all of those goals. But if you don't know this tip, you're going to be stuck not achieving any of that because your gear. Well,
The gear drops are going to be junk. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be junk when you deserve better, except for that one piece you forgot about.
I did notice this in my race to 306. I would almost hit a plateau for a couple of run throughs, and looking at my gear, I'm like, how on earth? All of my gear is at 285, except one enhancement, which was at 280.
That's it.
Oof.
That was it, just
An
one enhancement.
Not
And
even
so
the whole piece of gear, just an enhancement.
Not even the whole piece of gear, just
Oh,
one
geez.
piece.
Okay.
And I would run over to the tech fragment vendor. I would buy a random, let's say, pants, and and oh hey, that pants would be an upgrade. Well, the next run through, my rewards were all higher.
Nice. Okay.
So when you do realize you've hit that plateau, make sure you're looking at not only your gear rating of the piece, but each individual component as well.
Right.
In
So
fact,
averaging it up is not going to be enough. It has to be every piece, every section within it.
Correct.
There's actually a sad consequence of this. I hope someone at BioWare actually listens to this episode now. There was a person who posted on Twitter this morning an image of someone on Fleet Chat saying they need 1 DPS for the story mode op, 306 gear, like, is required because those group loot drops look at the gear for the entire group. And even though it's story mode, if you're not 306, then you just tanked the gear drop for the entire group.
Oh, geez.
Potentially. So now we have in a system where you gear your way doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
BioWare may have accidentally created an elitist story mode ops mentality.
Absolutely.
Where you can't play with us if you're going to ruin our drops. So,
right.
Unintended consequence of the system. Yeah. So just something to think about.
Well, I'm wondering if now that you've mentioned the group finder, if it's a good place to actually talk about the new group finder.
Yeah, go for it.
Since Onslaught dropped, they changed group finder to where, sure, you have an op. However, you also have a new filter button. And in order to get the reward, you have to tick every one of the single boss ops that is available for the group finder, which is now also RNG. So if I get a raid group together, let's say for our Friday night Jar Jar Joyride, and it's like, oh hey, we're going to do Scum and Villainy for Conquest this week. Well, if we want to get the group finder reward, which is great because it's got a box of gear in it that we want.
Yeah.
I've got to tick all of those, which means that when I hit Q, we might hit Colossal Monolith, which is way more mechanic heavy than say Scum and Villainy.
Right. Oof.
And it's not like you can quit because then you're waiting for 20 minutes to get back into group. Oh, they did increase that by 5 minutes. Now you have to wait 20 minutes to get back into group finder.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Yeah. You have to have a team 1 through 8 that knows how to play the mechanics to win Colossal Monolith, even on story mode, in my opinion.
Is it, then do you think it's worth it to just go into like the one that has the extra, reward right then? Or is it better to just do the random one?
It depends. If I'm wanting to do Scum and Villainy, I'm probably doing it because it's one of the ops for Conquest this week.
Right.
That's
and Conquest itself is important too. Yeah.
Right. And so, in the past, what we've done is we've looked at the group finder op on Friday and we've looked at what's Conquest and, kind of make a decision there. Sometimes it would be the same thing and that would be awesome because then we get a bunch of Conquest points and we get our group finder. But now looking at group finder, I'm not so sure because maybe I'm going to waste my group finder reward on Taboro's Courtyard, not Scum and Villainy.
Right. Or you have to do both, but then maybe one of your alts doesn't get it. You run out of time. One of your alts doesn't get their run. So
I really hope that the devs kind of hear people. I looking through the forums. There's several forum posts about this. It's basically kind of killing pugs because it is RNG. You have a 1 in 4 shot of pugging the group finder op that you're actually wanting.
Okay. That is interesting.
Maybe they could separate it into full ops and one boss ops so that there is a group finder opportunity for like weeks where there's the Xeno Analyst, throw that one in there with Taboro's Courtyard and the Colossal Monolith. But then if you want the full op, I'm sure it takes time to build up a feature like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Dekion, did they fix the issue where they give you 16-man for the 8-man group finder?
It was in the patch notes. It's kind of funny that run of EV I talked about, we actually ran 16.
Yeah, the group that I did on the first night of my ops, we queued up for Karaga's Palace, and it was 16 man, but we didn't know that at all until we cleared the Rancor. And we were like, man, they made ops really hard for 6.0. Bolster isn't doing anything. They're the trash was flattening us, but we were just missing people. That's all.
That'll do it. Hey, Doc, we are getting close to the top of the hour, and I know that's an issue for you tonight. So let's get on to the Jedi Mind Trap.
Yeah, so we've already touched on some of it, but I've been thinking a lot about the things that we do just casually when we're playing and we're gearing up. And mainly, you know, I'm at the part where I really wish I could augment my set pieces that I've been able to earn that are useful for my class, because those pieces of gear are going to be with me for a long time. So they're permanent for me, so I want to get them to have the best stats possible. So augmenting and crafting, and the first thing that you notice in this, if you enjoy crafting at all, is it costs 1.5 million credits to upgrade the crew skill and the crafting skill for each of your tunes. Okay, so I have this nice little notebook next to my computer where I keep track of who does serious crafting for each skill.
Right.
And so I go and I drop 1.5 mil on each of those tunes. So I'm ready to go. I got my slicing, I got my artifice, I have my biochem, and I have, you know, arms tech, armor mech, all that stuff. And then you start buying the recipes, which I found those to be pretty affordable.
Yeah.
But so 1.5 plus the recipes, so you're good to go. And then you just keep playing and you get into the gold pieces of gear and you're like, oh, that mod is really good for my my gloves. I want to upgrade my gloves, so let's switch mods. Well, that's 100,000 credits. And then it's like, wait, so I used to switch out mods and enhancements on things just like over and over and over, keep the pieces of gear, you get the command crates, and you want to get your legacy gear sets ready for your other tunes. And so it's like 46,000 per thing, and you just do that, but you're earning credits, and that's like clearing 1 or 2 daily missions, and you clear the weekly on Ziost, and somehow you end up breaking even most of the times that you log in.
Right.
And now 6.0, I do not break even anymore. At all, not even close. It is a deficit every time I sign into Called On. That's my main sorcerer. And this is worse than what it feels like to make payments on my student loan. Like, honestly, it's... So anyway, I have strong feelings about this, but I've been, you know, as a content creator, I get to be involved with other people who stream the game and who are, you know, really excited about 6.0 right now. And they're kind of reflecting, you know, it's an echo chamber. Like, this is a really expensive expansion. And then some of my closest friends who are always on top of the GTN and crafting, and they're like, I've spent 600 million credits on crafting mats in the last 2 weeks. It's like, huh. And so, you know, I know there are many billionaires in this game, but it does feel like a lot of these decisions were made to try to eradicate billionaires. But I never had more than 20 million credits under the regular system ever. And then I sold a few cartel market items a couple months ago, just getting ready. But, you know, I'm watching that that nest egg kind of dwindle, and I don't like that. I didn't want to touch those credits at all. So, so this is the real boss of the expansion. So the question is, are your tunes wealthy enough to survive the real boss of Onslaught, the Nightmare credit sink? And very simple, 2 options. Yes, with dollar bills in it, and not even close, and then terrified emoji faces.
Right.
So before we talk about this, I just want to say that this is one of the most popular OotiniCast polls that I've ever done. I posted it today, and it's
a
over
great
130
one.
votes.
Yeah, 134 votes is really high.
And so I want to hear before we talk about the.
And there's 15 hours left. I'll be curious to see what the final numbers are on this one. I'll go ahead and go first. I usually let the
Sure.
guests go first, but I'm gonna jump in. Not even freaking close, man. This is crazy, man. The whole they've changed the whole way that crafting works now. First of all, there's no sweet 60% chance of getting a recipe. It's 20% from green to blue, and then it jumps to 10, and it goes down from there. And I am still on blue for. I'm doing biochem on both my main and my mirror just to have that, and I'm hoping that at some point there'll be a reusable version, which I don't think there is right now. Although since I haven't gotten to the end of the line yet, maybe there is, and I'm not aware of it. But we'll find out. But anyway, so yeah, I am just struggling, and even making like one cell graft is like 10 of this, 10 of the green, 10 of the other green, and then a bunch of the white stuff. And it's very expensive. The crew skills take the level 11 crew skills take a long time to get through. Boy, it is rough. So I've got bioanalysis on both of them for gathering, and then I have diplomacy on one, and I have slicing on the other. So I can get kind of both kinds of stuff. And for a little while, I was like, man, this is so rough. Maybe I should dump slicing. And then it's like, well, let's try it, and then I decided to take a couple of those crit like level 11 missions and sell them, and they sell for like 1 to 1.5 million credits, because people are desperate for the mats, and you do get a lot of mats from the level 11 missions. And I hadn't, and at some point, yes, I'll do underground trading and I'll do scavenging, but right now I'm just focusing on my mains, and so I was okay selling those. But it's expensive out there, man.
Yeah.
Crew skills are crazy hard to get, like 10 times harder than like all the other crafting put together. Maybe more than that. It is wild, man. they decided to put the hammer down on crafting.
Well, not to mention too, it costs 1 million credits plus the 3,000 tech fragments.
Yeah.
To avoid the RNG of gear.
Yes.
Per piece, and that's an empty shell. So you're also spending 100,000 credits to yank mods and enhancements out of something to put in that empty shell, or just more tech fragments from the random vendor.
Yep.
So it is. I got a lot of people who were interested in like, what boss are you talking about? Because they thought I literally meant an instance boss, like you can go fight the credit sink.
You have to throw credits at it.
That's not what I meant. They asked, what are you talking about? I was like, literally everything in the expansion is the nightmare credit sink.
Yeah.
So Dekion, where do you fall on this one? Any feelings or thoughts you want to share with me and chill?
My biggest thought is don't worry about amplifiers until you have the end shell that you're looking for, until you have maybe a set piece.
Absolutely.
Until you have the 306 gear in the set piece, because once you start trying to get the amplifiers you're looking for and hitting that recalculate button, you might as well be back in the nightlife event, because before you know it, each time you click recalibrate, it's 50,000, 60,000 credits, and you don't really realize it.
This is, by the way, exactly what happens to the people I do counseling with, who are excited by things like slot machines and the lottery. So it's using some really basic psychological principles to deflate us. Fun side note.
Oh yeah, because you hit recalculate and you're like, I've got I've got a purple underworld trading and a blue slicing. I don't need either of those. You click it again. Wow, millions of credits.
They can just fly away. Yeah, exactly. And it's fun to play around with, like when you first see them. Go ahead and play around with it a little bit just to see what it's like to re-roll. Don't spend a lot on it, because you're going to replace that gear, whether we're talking about 75 or even, you can actually, there are amplifiers sometimes on pre-75 gear, not always. It's kind of rare, but it does show up once in a while, and then you can re-roll it. Even on mods and stuff like that, you can actually get amps on mods at like level 60 and below even. It's kind of interesting, and play around with it, but just realize you're gonna pass this gear up. The amplifier is gonna go away. It's gonna be completely useless. So don't treat it as anything other than just a reroll, just to test it and see what the system is like. But yeah, amplifiers are strictly for like end game. Beyond that,
Right.
Other than
once you have that perfectly tuned character, and you have exactly the armorings and the mods that you want, and the shell piece, that's when you start dabbling with amplifiers.
Yep.
Because if you do it beforehand, inevitably you're going to get rid of that piece.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you don't need those to be perfect, because according to BioWare, the stat adjustments are not based on those. So those are just icing on the cake. You want to have them, and it will be expensive to fix them the way you want, but you're not going to fail a boss fight because your amplifier on your bracers is wrong.
Right, because it doesn't matter if you're going to have less fall damage.
Right, you're gonna fail that fight because you don't know the mechanics, or your team's not ready for it, or there's some progging to do, and that amplifier is there to boost you. Right, that's what we've been told. So you can beat these fights without the amplifiers being right.
Yeah, and it's nice that they are balancing it that way, because otherwise you'd have to find ones with the right amplifier family, because if you get an amplifier and it's a crew skill one, the rerolls are all crew skill related, basically, or similar. It's like non-combat related. And if you get a combat one, you can kind of reroll it into another combat one. But there are families of rerolls, and if you happen to have a crew skill one, you're going to re-roll into other crew skill ones, and it'll even give you a list of the available ones, and it's not a full list of everyone in the game. It's a family of amplifiers that are kind of related to the one you've got, generally.
All right. And we're not talking a big boost of anything. We're talking 0.1% to up to 1.5%. So very, very small.
So I'm going to share the results here. We have 69% of the vote as of the beginning of the episode is not even close. So this is a landslide victory for people feeling lower middle class in this game. Income does not make payment possible. And then the 31% voted yes, and there are a lot of 5.0 reasons why probably people aren't feeling it. There were a lot of people coming out of that era of the game quite wealthy. And if you start out 6.0, you can spend a billion credits and get to a very nice spot. We're only 2 weeks in, and also I think a lot of these adjustments are going to feel a lot less impactful over time. Because once you get your amplifiers, you don't need to do that anymore. And once you get your full set piece gear set for a certain class, but some of the amplifiers aren't what you want, you might purchase a new chest piece that exactly matches just because you want to be in a different amplifier family. And that might feel really tough to spend 3,000 tech fragments like that today, but in June it probably won't. So... I think that a lot of these ideas were designed with a full life of the 6.0 era in mind. So that's my parting thought. I think that there were some really great points in conversation, and people that maybe didn't think that I had an idea what I wanted to talk about, so they were trying to help me understand what BioWare's doing. And I think I see what they're doing. Sometimes we ask questions that we know a lot of the different answers to, because we want a pulse for the community. And I feel validated. Like, it's normalized. I'm supposed to feel broke right now. So
Yep.
That's really great. So,
and
Jill, you need to
head out. Right.
My time on the show tonight, but let's have you move along, and you and Dekion can do the news and wrap up, and I will be back in touch with everyone next time.
That sounds good. Yeah, just send it. Send it the usual ways, and I'll let you know if I somehow don't get it, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
All right.
Thanks, Doc. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Dekion, for coming to the show.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Yep.
All right, and that'll bring us to the Holo feed. Let's see. This is gonna. how's this gonna work? So I'd rather try to make it side by side if we can. Well, I guess it won't. I'm not sure if it'll let me because I'm the only camera. So I guess it's going to be my giant face for the rest of the show. Sorry. Because Dekion's not using a webcam, so it's not letting me do the side-by-side thing. All right.
It makes it easier to superimpose the Mystery Science Theater group.
Oh, there we go. I can do that. There we go. I can at least do that still, so that's good. Yeah, exactly. I get the the bots down below. All right. A couple of things coming up in the game. Bounty Contract Week just started. It's going until November 12th, and it's the usual Bounty Contract Week, so that's back. And then coming up in a couple of weeks, Pirate Incursion. So Dantooine will be back. That's going to be November 19th through the 26th. And so the newest one is going to be back. That's always nice. Then there's just kind of a bunch of little things going on because they had like a patch with a bunch of bug fixes. Theron Cedrax, you see him in the story, but he doesn't actually come back as a companion. Eric let us know that his Alliance Alert recruitment will come up in an upcoming patch, so that is coming. Sounds like it's one of those things where it's like, we have one too many things to do before launch of Onslaught, so this is something we can do later, and I think that's what had to happen. There were issues with the HK55, which is that gives you the chapter that you get HK55 back, and then also you get ZO. People are having issues with that. That's now been apparently fixed, so that's good too. And if you had any issues, definitely let them know. Or if you're having ongoing issues, let them know. There was a nice little, like I say, a little patch with a bunch of bug fixes. Kaisaiken now faces the player during his introduction cinematic. It says, Kaisaiken has learned the value of customer service, kind of, and will now face the player during his introduction cinematic. So, yeah, I noticed that one when I on my main. It's like I went and saw Kaisaiken, and he's like, why is he looking at the wall the whole time? It was pretty funny, actually, but whatever. Did you notice that one too, Dek?
I did. I saw that, and it was, yeah.
It was a little funny, wasn't it?
I racked it up to,
yeah,
patch.
Exactly. Corrected a number of issues where characters that were killed due to player choices were appearing in cinematics, so that's got to be a nightmare. It's amazing, like how many choices you can make in this game, and then they've got to figure out like when someone appears later on, and how to make them not appear. And wow, crazy. Using Commander's Token to begin Jedi Under Siege storyline will no longer play the original class story intro in some situations. Yeah. There were some conquest issues with Onslaught's launch. It'll be in your inventory if you didn't receive it before. That I'm sure most people have gotten that done by now. And lowered the frequency and rewards of slicing boxes on Onderon, which is a shame. Although I didn't really take advantage of that since the character I had leveled up first did not have slicing. But oh well. And both sides, Jedi Knight and Sith Warrior, Force Leap's cooldown are now being reset by preparation of Force push as intended. Apparently there was an issue on both sides with that reset. And then the tactical, and again this is on both sides for the Knight and the Warrior, the tactical item Hemophilic Slash now refreshes damage over time effects of Blade Barrage. And now on the Juggernaut it's Ravage, and it's previously Slash or Vicious Slash. So there you go. They corrected some other issues as well. We don't necessarily have to touch every single one, but let's see. Let's see. There was a bunch of mission and NPC ones, especially with like the Objective Meridian mission. So that one had some bugs in it and some, let's see. So yeah, so there was a number of things. this one hit me actually. The player-controlled walkers during the Knights of the Eternal Throne chapters and the IOCATH story missions have had their health greatly increased. Yeah. And even still, it's not as easy as it used to be. I'm finding myself dying on these walkers sometimes, and it's really annoying because, I mean, I've done the story so often that it should be a cakewalk, and it's like in some cases just kind of impossible to actually to get through the story in the normal way. I'm like having to die and come back and make sure I'm full health and destroy the next thing and then make sure I heal up again and then continue. And it's a little nuts, but apparently it was even worse when they didn't increase the health of these walkers during the missions when they were doing all the upgrading. Players who have seen Darth Vowron as Emperor no longer see him sitting in the same seat as Darth Shar. That's interesting. And Knights of the Fallen Empire, Knights of the Eternal Throne story chapters now issue rewards appropriate to their level. And that's pretty cool because I am getting like a crate of... I do get like this crate. And it usually has one piece of gear and one like armoring enhancement or mod. It's not a huge amount of reward. This is only story as well, so it's not exactly, terribly difficult, but it's nice to get something level appropriate every time. So that's pretty cool. And I am getting, like I say, as soon as I hit 75, I started to get level 75 drops. So I was getting, the 268, 270 and all that. So that was
that
cool.
feels good when you're running the story and you get level appropriate drops finally. That's been a long time since that's happened.
Exactly. Exactly. The whole Outlander gear, that was always trash. I mean, I can't remember. It's like, it's hard to remember like when that was sort of like actually useful gear.
Right. Yes.
There's always simple ways to get better gear than that, like immediately upon getting that level. So whatever. Anyway, so they are obviously, this sort of thing happens at the whenever there's an expansion. So they're figuring out where the bugs are and they're trying to kick the bugs' butt. There is, however, one going on right now. It's on the Tulak Horde server. And I just wanted to touch on this because it seems to be an ongoing issue. It started yesterday. Tulak Horde server went down several times. The devs were bringing it down, bringing it back up, just to find that there's still an issue. They fixed it, but then apparently these things are still happening. So they are continuing as of today. Just like an hour or so before the show, I was still seeing like notes from Eric and so forth. There's apparently continuing issues and it's unclear exactly what the problem is. It's not affecting everyone, or else I think they would just completely take down the server. However, a lot of people are having like lag issues, login issues, automatically being kicked out, log out issues, server not recognizing when they've logged out on one character so they can't log in on other characters. Other sort of very serious basic game breaking issues are happening to a fair number of people on Tulak Horde. And some people say, hey, it happens when I'm in strongholds or in my guild ships or whatever. Other people are just having issues out in the world, so it's not clear if it's related to where you are in the game physically either. So that's sort of an ongoing issue as of the recording of this game. I'm sure they will fix it, but apparently it is an issue. Sorry if you're on Tulak Horde and are having that kind of issue though. And Dek, have you noticed any big bugs or anything when you've been doing the game?
Not really. Things have been pretty stable going through the content that I've been.
Yeah, I haven't had any like lag issues. It's been really clean as far as gameplay goes. I did have that. I'm not sure that they fully fixed the walker thing because I'm telling you the walkers are just dying out there, man. And those IOCATH or the Kotet storylines, man, it is ugly. But I did manage to get through all the walker bits. So hopefully everyone else will be able to as well. And yeah,
really, what fixes any weirdness for me is just to log out and immediately log back in, and usually things.
Right. That does fix a lot of things in the game. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. But I expect by the time of the next show that the Tulak Horde thing will be just sort of in the rearview mirror. They'll figure out, because if it's only one server, then we know it's not part of the client. It's not part of the game itself. It's something about this particular server. something got corrupted, or they're having some issues with maybe some of their hardware or something. So yeah, they'll figure that out. Just outside of game update news, there was kind of a very cool bit. There was an earnings call for Electronic Arts, which of course owns BioWare, which puts out Star Wars: The Old Republic. And The Old Republic, the news on GameSpot, there's basically the same news on a bunch of places at the same time. I just used the GameSpot article. Star Wars: The Old Republic is still very popular and has made almost $1 billion in revenue. So that's pretty cool. So Old Republic, still popular, they say, and close to $1 billion in revenue. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, $1 billion is amazing. I mean, I know it's been 8 years, but still, that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Their CFO Blake Jorgensen on their earnings call said it's a business that just keeps on going, and we like those types of businesses. So it's always nice to hear that that they're happy with the game, because ultimately it's their decision on whether the game keeps going, and if they're making money, they're basically happy, and apparently they're happy. So that makes me happy.
Right. Yeah, and the fact they actually talked about SWTOR during one of those calls, it's been a while since that's.
Yeah. And I'm very happy that they're doing well, and $1 billion just seems like a good chunk of money. And of course, some of that's going to go back to Disney, or would have gone to Lucas before that, but now it goes to Disney. But still, obviously, most of it stays in house. We don't know the exact percentages that would be between them, but yeah, that's a lot of money, and yeah, apparently they're happy with the money that's coming in. So $1 billion, wow. Fee's writing in the chat that she was having issues dying in instances and had to reset 2 missions when the logout didn't work. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep an eye out for bug fixes on that too. And let's see. One thing I didn't mention when I was talking about leveling earlier is I was using the XP, like it was the old Dark and Light event XP gear that you get more. It's a 7-set bonus that gives you more experience, and I thought it was kind of interesting that the set bonus for that is now, like other set bonuses in the game, it is on the shell. And it used to be on the armorings. And so now there are no armorings on it. They just moved the set bonuses, but they did not replace the armorings with anything. It was just empty. So I just had to level, had to gear those up along the way as well. So that was kind of interesting. So if you have that old leveling gear and you're going to pull it out and use it, just be aware that you're not gonna, because it used to be you had like overpowered stats just because the armoring you could use from level 1, but it had a reasonable amount of stats all the way up until level 30 or 40 or even like 50.
Yeah,
you kind of just hang on to that. Yeah, it made you invincible at low levels. Now not so much. You need to find basically I just hung on to it. I mean, I can get through I can get through the starting planet with no gear. That's not an issue, especially since you can get a companion at level 1 now. But then once I got to the fleet, I just went over and grabbed like the level 10 or level 14 armorings and all that stuff, and went on from there. So it was a little more expensive, but it was not a big deal. So
they did provide everybody with another set up on Onslaught launch that had earned the XP armor during the Dark versus Light. The new set actually has amplifiers built in to the ship.
Nice.
So on that set, if you wanted to go and play the amplifier slot machine, you could set all of the amplifiers to things like extra mission rewards, or
nice.
Mount speed, or fall damage, or something
right.
that's
something
really
that's
going to need to
leveling,
help you advance through your leveling.
There are in fact XP gain amplifiers out there. So yeah, good stuff there too. Yeah. Do you have a particular favorite amplifier that you're like looking for or hoping for?
Not yet. There's so many that I
Yeah.
honestly, even after several million credits, I probably haven't seen them all.
Right. Yep. There's a lot of them out there, and the one that I think is really interesting, but it's going to be really hard to get, is that lifesteal one. That basically you get back a percentage of the damage you deal. That sounds really good for PvP, but they made it so that it does show up on gear, but it does not show up on any of the reroll tables. So it's going to be very difficult to get, because unless you get it naturally as just part of the drop, you're just not going to have it. So yeah, that's a hard one to get, but I can imagine, like, let's say you grind like armorings, and maybe you get you do enough of them that you get the a bunch of the armorings, and each one of them has about say 1% life steal. They call it something else, I think, but that's what it amounts to. A term from other games, and and then go in and you wallop someone for a crit for like 20,000, and you get back like 10%. You're getting like 2,000 health every time you attack someone. 1 to 2,000 every time you attack someone. That's a lot of healing, and that could be really overpowered. But that's going to be very difficult to get without it, since it's not an amplifier that shows up on the rerolls. So. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see how far people willing to get some of these sort of difficult to get, unusual things in the game, especially those amplifiers. Yeah, right.
Well, I remember during the lead up to Onslaught, I remember a cast where Eric was talking about the amplifiers and how you could even have a set of gear that's made for crafting, and with the amplifiers you can. You can do the plus 1.5% biochem or bioanalysis, or just have it ready to go for whatever crafting you're wanting.
That's right. Yeah, and it might make me get my, because I've left my banking alt as like level 56, and I only leveled up one more level at that one point, because that's what got me from 5 people to send out to 6. And I didn't care about it after that, and I didn't even bother getting her up to the 8 people, to 8 people sent out. But yeah, it might make sense to, at some point, in the relatively near future, go ahead and level her up, find the fastest way possible, probably not doing all the story. Story is not a quick way to level, and it's definitely not a quick way to gear, but that's what I do because I enjoy it. But I would just, push her to 75 as fast as possible, and then, just find a bunch of gear that has, her type of crafting, because she's a synth weaver, and I think she has archaeology and whatever else that's kind of related to it. And and just get a bunch of stuff to let her crit more, to have them come back faster, and have the rewards be higher. It's good stuff. All right. And was there anything else, Dek?
I think that might be a show.
I think we're good then. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini. Okay, something's wrong with my brain tonight. To join the Utini channel, and then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays, usually at noon Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thanks, Dekion, for coming.
Thanks for having me again.
All right, and we'll see you next show.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, stopping the stream and stopping the recording.